Okay. Oh, shit. He has the wrong camera. Welcome, everybody. Welcome again. This is the afternoon session of the side program of the OSPP Plugfest. We are here with Paul Klapwijk, and he will be doing his presentation on the certification program. If you have any questions, please, after the presentation, also for the people online, you can ask them in the questions box. Paul, floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Paul Klapwijk. I'm the chair of the compliance working group that's responsible for the certification program. And today I want to provide you with an update for the certification program for 201, primarily just to show you what we've done over the last few months, and also just introduce you to the certification program and instruct you how, if you want to get certified, how you can also participate. So, and then of course this never works once. Yes, first question I always people always ask why do we have a certification program? So I just from the OCA side, we originally did this to validate that a system follows the OSPP specification, and of course for you that is if you're a vendor, that is of course you can show that you're compliant with the specification, and for a buyer you know that you're buying something that is adhering to the specification, and that enables you to switch between different systems that also use OSPP. And of course, it makes integrating systems much easier. So if you have a CSMS and you have all kinds of certified chargers, usually then the integration is much easier. So that's those are the reasons from our side to start a certification program. But then there's of course also the reasons why companies do it. So you see here some of the regulations throughout the world that have been here for that basically make it required to be certified. So we have Korea, where it's required to be certified for public from the Ministry of Environment. We have regulations in New York. In India, it's in the handbook for electric charging infrastructure. And we have the Biden-Harris Act in the USA, where it's also mandated for subsidies. So I think overall you can see that the bar that you see from 2019 when we started was pretty low in the amount, but then you can see that ever since, especially in Korea, the regulation was there. You can see the spike coming up, and this is I think these are the numbers approximately, I think, until last week, and we have this year we'll go over the 500 certification certificates. So you can see that the regulations is a large part responsible for this uprise. So we are now in September. So I think we will reach the amount of last year, and we'll probably even go over it. That's of course related to the OSPP 201 certification program that has opened this year. So just to give you an idea, so for those of you not familiar with the certification program, we opened for 1.6, OSPP 1.6 in 2019, where we have the full subset certificates and a separate security certified part for the security white paper, which is not part of the original specification. So that's why we made this into a separate certificate. And we have now, since June 2023, also a 201 certification program, where you can now certify for the core and advanced security certification profiles. And we intend to open the remaining certification profiles beginning of next year. I'll come back to that later in the presentation. Now, as the title of the presentation already said, meet our first certified companies. So we did this whole 201 opening for the certification program with a number of companies, because of course we had a test tool which we had to create for conformance, and on the other hand we needed to sort of test the test tool. So we used some implementations of these companies. These were 13 implementations. Some of them had both CS and CSMS, and we used them to test the test tool. So so we were, it was always like a puzzle, because then is there an issue in the specification if it doesn't work, or is it in the tool, or is it in the implementation? So we did quite some work, and in June these were the companies that were the first, the front runners that did the first certifications. So some of them are actually here. So I think Trilog, Switch, IO Charger is also here, and some of them, most of them are participating remotely. So yeah, so this is the group that first did the certification. So we now also have the sorry. We now also have a website where you can find all the certified companies. So the one thing is, of course, that you have to do all the testing with the OSPP test tool for your certification, but you also have to do like the administrative stuff with the signatures and the logo agreements and stuff like that. So not all of them are there. But we now also have, besides the OSPP 1.6 certification page, you know, also have the list of certified companies for 201. So you see here the list, and you can also see this is the front page of the certificate for 201. So it's actually generated based on the PIX document. I'll come back to that later. But this is how how the new certificates look like. And as you can see, it says here core and the S of security. So we're now only open for core and advanced security. And as soon as we have more, then this logo will extend a little bit. So that's coming up next. So now we have another big group, but I did have the question for those of you that have an implementation. I was just wondering, when will you be considering certification for 201? So I heard here an A here. Any other A's? Maybe by show of hands, of course. And then we have B. Okay, that's quite good. And C, so that's in 2 to 5 years. Okay, and then there is of course a D and E, probably D. Let's see. That's of course an E. They're also okay. No, I like the fact that there's a lot of B's there. So yeah, it's of course always surprising for us. Like I said in the beginning, in 2019, we also didn't know what to expect. And now we are almost at 500. So I do. Yeah, exactly. Then we have to work at Christmas. So now, but we actually automated a lot of stuff. So I'll let you know in a minute. But okay. So one of the topics of the presentation is also, of course, what if you want to get certified? What do you have to do then? So I will give you a short guide of what information you need and what you can do then. First and foremost, everything I'm telling you about the process and stuff is all on the website. So we have a separate page for 1.6 and 201. And the information that I'm providing, you can basically find it on the website. Maybe you have to search a little bit, but everything is there. But just to give you an idea. I will come back to the actual information in a minute. First, as mentioned, we currently only have the core and advanced security profiles for certification open for 201. So the rest of that will follow later, the beginning of next year. And what we now also have, besides CSMS and the charging station, we also added a charging station software stack, which is basically something without the hardware. So you can now actually also certify your software stack, and then that doesn't mean that your charger is certified, but you can at least say, okay, this piece of software that you're using is certified, and if you build it into a piece of hardware, it's very likely that it will pass the certification quite easily. So that's the addition in 201 that's currently not in OSPP 1.6. Now, of course, I don't know if there's all kinds of technicians or also management here, but of course also the question is, what does it cost? Well, we try to keep it sort of, we now have a new tool. So we try to, yeah, of course, we have the certification fee, which basically consists of a part for the hours that are spent by the test labs, and some of the hours, of course, the cost that we make to develop the program and to do the administrative stuff. So we were able to manage to get the tariffs sort of similar to what it's now for OSPP 1.6. And for the lowest bar, you can see that the other profiles, we don't know how long it will take. So that's basically what we are now doing, is developing the test cases. And once we have everything done and all tested, we have to do some dry runs to see how much time it takes to do the run. That will determine the cost of the labs, and then we know what the cost will be for you. So that's something that will follow probably beginning of next year. But all in all, I think these are what's good to mention here. These are all maximum fees, which is actually the maximum fee for one certification run. So if you halfway you fail because of something you have to change, of course, then this is the maximum fee for one run. If you have to do 5 runs, yeah, then of course the lab might charge you more than this. But this is the maximum fee for one complete successful run for the certification. So that's probably good for you to know. And of course, we make a distinction between OK members and non-members. Of course, because of course the OCA members already paid their membership fee, which we use for developing the program. Then the labs. So if you want to go for certification, you have to read the information on the website, and there's the process which is described. And one of the first steps is from contact a lab. So we have different locations over the world. I'm happy that a lot of them are here. So we have a location in South Korea. So that's Philip is in the back. So if you want to go for certification there with KSJ, then you can contact Philip. DMV, we have 2 locations in the US. One of them is here. So John is here. Welcome. And we have one in the USA and one in the Netherlands, and Casper is from the Netherlands location, so it's also here. And we also have a location in Singapore, Ivan, and we have 2 locations from DECRA in the US as well. So you can basically go to each of the labs. It doesn't matter in the sense that they all have the same procedures, the same test tool, the same tooling. So they will all just do the same testing. So it's basically for your convenience that you can choose which lab you want to go to. And then you can, they can of course also assist you. Maybe they will do some pre-testing to see to what extent your system already or your charger already adheres to the test cases from the test tool. So that's something that you can just discuss with the labs. Besides this picture, if you go to the website, you just have the actual contact information. So you'll just find the names and the email addresses and the phone numbers of the people that can help you with the certification. Now, as already mentioned, all the information on the website. So we have also the documentation there. So these are the 4 main components of the documentation that you need when you want to go for certification. So one is a description of the procedure, which is actually the same for OSPP 1.6 and 201. So there's a certification procedure document, and there's only one. So you go to the 1.6 website or the 201 certification website, you'll download the actual same file because it's just one procedure which goes for both of the versions. The actual test plan and the procedure, so the actual test cases that will be run, etc. That's of course different. So there's 2 different versions of that, one for 1.6 and one for 201. And then there's a very important document, which is the PICS, which is actually, it's the short for the Protocol Implementation Conformance Statement, but I'll just call it PICS. That basically describes what you want to have certified. So you basically say what is your version of your software, what is named, what options does it have, what certification profiles are in there, just exactly describing what you want to have certified. So this is something you have to fill out, and you can go to the lab with that form, and they can help you to get that thing certified, either whether it's a CSMS or a charging station software stack, but they can have that. This has to be perfectly defined in that document. I'll have an example on the next slide, because for 201 we basically made it more strict and also more how do you say this? More flexible. But this is a really important document, so that's really careful when you fill this in. And of course, the list of the labs I also mentioned just now, the picture with the contact details, that's of course also on the website. But the PICS is like a very important one, and for 201, we actually, for those of you that have done OSPP 1.6 certification, it's actually a small form in a PDF which you can go to the lab. For OSPP 2.0.1, we actually have a Excel sheet which you can download from the website, and you have to fill in all kinds of tabs, and based on all the choices you make there, you'll get a selection of the tests that you have to perform for certification. So we have, especially in OSPP 201, when we were developing it, we had a lot of features that are optional. So you can either do it, for example, I don't know, if you unplug on the car side a plug. For some cars it's loose. So then of course, will the transaction stop or not? There's 2 options there. You can either stop or you can continue the transaction, or you can have a variable that says whether it's doing the one or the other. Well, basically you can just define that in the PICS. And based on the configuration that you fill in there, the number of tests that you have to perform will change. So this is just a simple example. The reset per EVSE is actually an optional thing in the OSPP 201 specification. So if you say you don't support it, then you'll see that a number of test cases will be set to false in the PICS. So basically, if you are going for certification, you can just fill out everything exactly how your product or how your system is defined, and then you can just find all the test cases that you have to perform. What's also important, especially for 201, and that will also be the future for 1.6, is that we actually use this document on the one hand for defining what you have to test. Once all the tests are performed, it will also serve as a test report, and it will also serve as the basis for your certificate. So we actually have scripts that use this document and actually create a PDF with your certificate. So you just saw the example of the PDF or the front page of the certificate. The name of the company, it actually comes from this document. So if you make a typo in this document, it's going to be wrong on the certificate. So it's really important that you fill this in correctly. Now, as mentioned, we have these test cases that you have to perform. So for OSPP 201, the complete list is actually defined in the part 5 of the documentation specification, and the details of the test cases are in part 6 of the documentation. So you can just download them from the website. And what's I think also important, that these are tested with the test tools, and these are actually also for sale. So if you want to practice yourself, we currently have an OSPP toolkit for 1.6, and we have the OCTT for OSPP 201. And we are currently working on integrating the 1.6 test cases also in this new OCTT. So for those of you that have the old tool, that will be replaced in the future by the new one. So everything is in just one tool, and then you can just use them. And what's this important? So you can buy it yourself and you can practice. You can just do everything beforehand. So you can sort of go to the lab already knowing that you will succeed. So then there's this is a slide which I actually took from the town hall meeting from yesterday. As already mentioned, so we opened for core and advanced security in June, and the rest of the profiles, which have to see local authorization list. We have let me see, device model. We have reservations, advanced UI, smart charging, and ISO 15118 support. So these are the ones that are going to be up for. We are trying to add them in February 2024. So we are currently starting up the same process as we had previous time. So for those of you not familiar, what we did last time, we had sort of an end sprint. So a sprint towards the end of the to open certification program. So this number of front runners that you just saw, they were actually together with us, and we organized sort of what we call pressure cookers, which was basically just a week where we have the technical editors available. You have a session open, a team session or something, or you can just start developing, and if you have a question, you can just jump in the call and ask us. We have the editors available. And basically, yeah, what we did is, and we will also do this for the remaining profiles, we will just sprint together. So we have these sessions, we have these updates where you get more test cases than the production version. So you get like the newest version with all kinds of new test cases in advance. And what we again will do is validate on the one hand the OCTT itself, but of course also the implementation of the companies. So the idea is that at the end of this year, beginning of next year, that of course the people that are have done all the pressure cookers and have done all the testing, on the one hand they have helped us with the test tool to get it perfect, and on the other hand they are ready for a certification run, and the labs that are here will then perform the certification run, and then they are again certified for the other profiles. So we're starting this up now. Sorry. What's important to mention is that we are sort of looking into the different type of systems that you can use. For ISO 15118, we actually have a difference between AC and DC messages. So we are actually still looking for somebody with a dual socket DC charger with 15118. So if somebody is interested, we don't want a stack because we already have one, but we want to have an actual station. So if there's somebody that has one, then just contact me or oh, maybe that's a good idea. And then you're of course welcome. And then, like I said, we want to open the certification program in February of next year for the remaining proposals. This is dash 2. Dash 20 is for OSPP 2.1, so it's not finalized yet. So if you're ready, yeah, please contact one of the labs. Some of them are here. So if you, I saw some of you already raising their hand for next year. So like I said, they're here. And of course, please, the contact details are also on the website. So yeah, please, if you're ready, then contact them. And yeah, I hope to see your implementation on our website. I think that was it from my side. So if you have any questions, then please let us know.
Yes. Oh, the gentleman next to me. Can you stand up, please?
Hi, Patrick from Switch EV. I just had a question. I heard that you were planning to add the 1.6 certification test cases to OCTT.
Yes.
Do you have any timeline for this? And is it included
Not
with
an
your
exact
subscription
one.
already?
I know my colleague Frederick, he's actually in charge of the test tool, and he is having a presentation tomorrow.
Okay.
So I would go to that one. I don't have the exact timeline, but the idea is somewhere end of this year.
Yeah, well, some people tell me to talk to you, some people talk to Frederick. It's always chasing somebody.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, good points. Tomorrow we have another sessions, a full day of sessions regarding OSPP. Let's see, any other questions? Everything was clear? Haha, it wasn't. Please state your name.
Hi, Eugen from EVBox.
Yes.
So how do we know if and when we are ready? I understand if I get the Excel spreadsheet that you presented, if I fill it in, then I have an information about the test cases that are to be run. We also purchased the OCTT, so we have the tool available. But how do we know that we are there? Because we might be very well. So I think, Jelle, you raised your hand for certification next year, but we might already be at the point that we could go into the certification, but we don't know, to be honest.
Yeah, so what I would just advise you to do the testing. So we have if you have the picks, you can just filter on the exact test cases that you need to do. They actually have the numbers, the IDs match with the test tool. Sorry for that. So the numbers match. Cool. So you can actually just run the test cases yourself. We're also working on some sort of automation to make it even quicker for you.
But if we get a clear reference from the basically spreadsheet to the tool, that would cover the question.
Yeah, that's actually done. So
great.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Next one.
Hello, I'm Pablo.
Hi.
From Hitachi Energy. In case something fails during the test, I mean, for the certification, there is a plan to eventually stop, let the maybe a slot for the developers to fix the issue and restart the test, or necessary to rebook another session?
Yeah, so that's something you have to do together with the lab. The rule is that you have to do like a complete successful run with one version.
Okay.
So in the end, so if you halfway you find a bug, you will have to do a rerun because you have to do everything once over again.
So
but I can imagine that the lab will finish the run because it would be a pity if on 3/4 you'll find another one. So usually what they do is they just do a full run. They report the issues that they have found. You can fix them. They do another run and then it's done.
Okay, so this means that we should pay 2 times.
In that case, well, you don't.
Or
So
is an
there's
agreement
like,
for which?
So the certification fee, which is like the complete fee, is built up of an OCA fee. You don't have to pay that once. And there's the fee for the lab, which is basically the hours that they spend. So if they have to do 2 runs, they spend more hours, then they will charge you more. But that is something between you and the lab. So we only give you like a maximum for 1 run. But if you have to do 4, then it's up to the lab.
Decide and
agree.
Decide. Okay, good. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. People have lost their shyness, I think, because we get questions now in. Does the OCT provide an API to run automated non-regression tests? It's a question from Jan Baltimore.
Yeah, so to be clear, the OCTT actually for 201 has 2 APIs. One is to sort of start the test case, stop a test case, do the reporting and stuff. And it has an API to send messages to your system or to your device. So the API for sending to your device, for example, swipe a card, which is normally a manual action, but there's also like an API for that. So those are 2 different APIs. The one that is connected to your system, so saying, okay, you have to swipe a card or you have to plug in or plug out. That one is done, that's available. The one for starting and stopping a test case, that's currently under development. but that will just be one of the updates that will be upcoming in the coming months. So that will be, I'm not sure, I don't have a timeline for that. You will have to ask Frederick, but that's just something that we will add, but I'm not sure when. So, but both of them will be available eventually.
Okay, Frederick's presentation tomorrow. What time do you
It's
know?
tomorrow, I think at 3 or 2 or something.
2 or
3
3.
o'clock, I think. Not sure.
Okay, in the afternoon. So join him. Another question from the online version.
And then you didn't have any power
I
anymore.
lost my power. Any questions here? You can check it also, I think. Oh, here we go. No, we have another one. We always have a
There's,
backup. We always have a
somebody-
backup.
Yeah, okay, there's somebody that asked, is there any test case list for OSP 201? The answer to that is yes. So since I think somewhere in June, they are part of OSP, the OSP specification. So if you download the OSP 201 complete specification, you will find part 5 and 6 in the zip file now, which part 5 defines all the core and advanced security test cases, and part 6 has the details per test case. For the non-core and non-advanced security test cases, those are still in draft. So for OCA members, they are somewhere on Causeway, so you can also have a look, but those are still under development, so they might change. But the one in the specification, they're now done, and if there's something wrong with it, those will be errata and will be in the next release. But they are currently, those are done. So you can just download them from the website. And then I see another question coming in.
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock.
The session with Frederick is at 3 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have to recertify for 201 as you release more non-core testing, for example, ISO 15118? Yeah, the good question.
Rephrase it because I don't think everybody
Yeah,
heard
so
it.
the question is if you are adding certification profiles, whether you need to recertify. And unfortunately, yes, you have to recertify because we, as mentioned, we always do a run with one in the same software version. So if you start adding stuff, we always do a complete run for everything. So indeed, if you want to go for additional profiles, yeah, it's best to just wait until you have finished all of them, so you can do them all in one run. That's that's a pity because we have seen from experience that it will not work otherwise. We've seen a lot of issues with retesting. I see somebody smile over there. That somebody says, "Oh no, I just made this little change," but then somewhere else in the software, something breaks. So yeah.
Okay, any questions left? Yes.
So following up on the previous question, I mean, especially for residential charging, these are IoT devices which are frequently updated with software updates, not necessarily having any influence on OCPP, but some things might be changed, and if it's just a color on a screen or whatnot. Does this mean that really the certification is only valid for a specific firmware version? So with every update, which in our case, for example, happens rather frequently, so we're trying to provide our customers with updates at least every 3 months or even more frequently, we would have to recertify?
No, that's a good question. So this is something where we have a lot of confusion about. We will actually try to do more explanation on this part. So what we have done in the certification program, we actually defined the OSP software version. If you go to the procedure, that is the software which is related to the messaging. That is the definition. It's a bit longer, but so what we always advise to people, just don't give your firmware version, but give the version where it is related to your OSPP software. Because if you change something related to the messaging, yes, then you need to recertify to call your system or device certified. If you change something else outside of the OSPP messaging, you don't have to recertify. So that's why we always advise people make a separation between your, I don't know, system version and your OSPP software version. Because of course, a lot of companies update it every week or every month or every, right?
Yeah, so exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So that's, and I know that there's quite some confusion about it. It is in the OSPP certification procedures, chapter 9. I can always refer to it because I've had 100 of questions about it. But so we will do something about this in the future, but that is like a difficult thing. But so, but just to be for completeness, the OSPP software version is one part of the certification. The other one is the hardware feature set. So for charging stations, we also have the hardware feature set, which basically if you have one or more EVCs and the communication technology, we have some number of criteria, which also, if you change them, you have to recertify. But for the software perspective, it's basically the software. Yeah.
You're saying if you change the hardware that it will request a recertification, but if you have a modular setup that you can have 1 cable, 2 cable, 3 cable, 4 cables, or whatever upgrades, how would that work? Because then it would be becoming an expensive part.
Yeah, so what we have sort of as a sort of compromise, what we've done there is that we have defined now you have one or you have multiple. So if you have one, you have to, and you go to multiple, then you have to recertify. But if you go from 2 to 3, you sort of have the assumption if you know how to do it with 2 UZs, you'll probably know how to do it with 3.
Okay, then we always go for multiple.
Yeah, so if you're smart, if you want to go, then go for multiple because it also applies to 1.
Okay.
John.
We still have some online questions, but we'll see how far we get. So.
Sorry. Hi, this is John Watson at DNV. I guess I had 2 follow-up questions. One on the single versus multiple. You can certify as a multiple with 1 cable, right? Or do you have to have at least 2?
Yeah, so if you go for multiple, you have to have at least 2.
Okay.
And then if you have like a different charger which has only 1, and you use the same software for it, you can basically call that device also certified. But of course, we don't give a certificate for it because, well, you haven't had it on your desk, so we can't give you a certificate. Sure. But if you look at the procedure from the website, it does apply for that charger.
Okay, that makes sense. So you have to have at least 2 implemented to get the multiple.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. And then regarding the 201 additional certifications, the standard is available, right? So for example, someone can implement ISO 15118 presently. If they certify tomorrow to core and security, and then with the same software version, with the same product, want to certify to ISO 15118, for example, would they have to go through the entire process again?
Yeah. So theoretically they could say that I already built everything, but we sort of know that it's not the case. So we just be realistic. There's nobody that has like a full implementation now and only did the first 2 profiles. So we will they'll need to recertify. Okay. I don't think that you'll ever see that case because people know that they have to change stuff. If they use the tool, they'll find a lot of issues. Everybody finds issues.
Understood. No. I anticipated that question coming up at some point in the next. So I appreciate the clarification. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have an online question. Is this one?
This one.
Yeah. Hi, Klaus. Sam Parvizi from Go Power EV. For certification, is it for all the GUIs, interfaces, and DB structure? I don't think the next sentence is finished. How changes place in certification?
Not really sure what is meant by this. So what the only thing what I can say is that for a device we have so for a charger we have the hardware feature set, so the number of EVCs, the RFID readers, and stuff like that. We have the OSPP software version. If you look at the CSMS, if you look at the user interface, for example, coming back to basically to your point just now, if I would be you, or if I would be certifying a CSMS, I would also separate the version of your user interface from your messaging part, because if somebody changed like the color of a button, that doesn't influence the software or the messaging. So that would be, of course, ridiculous to recertify. So if you're smart, just separate those versions, and then you don't have to recertify. I hope this answers the question from you, Sam Parvizi.
You want to add?
Okay, I think I got the answer. Yes, thank you. So that's good. So that's it for the questions here.
Okay, well, we are running in time, so okay, one more question from the audience. Yep. It's all yours.
Okay, thank you. We are developing a charge management system. By the way, we have a charge management system software running both on premise and cloud.
Yeah.
So, and the stack is always the same.
Okay.
Now the question is if I need to run 2 certifications, knowing that we separate, I mean, again, also we have stack, we have OCPP stack implementation on the code, and then we have user interface and everything, the backend completely disconnected, let me say, from from this stack. Now the question is I can run one certification or two are required because I have on-premise and on cloud.
Yeah, so to be honest, for CSMS, we haven't made this distinction between on-site or on-premise or online or on-premise. You basically, if it's the same software version, then it's for CSMS that is enough. So if you have certified one, then that's enough. We were considering to, in the beginning of the certification program, whether you should ask people to actually provide an on-premise copy of a CSMS, but we soon got the feedback, but pretty much nobody will ever do that because they are afraid that it's going to be stolen, because of course that your whole company will depend on it. So I think, and I also see Casper nodding, most people will just provide with cloud access to provide the lab to a cloud instance of the CSMS. You can just run the certification, and it also applies if you have a local copy.
Okay, fine, perfect. Yeah, thank you.
Right.
Yes, I was checking if anyone had any further questions, but Paul will be here, or otherwise
tomorrow.
Frederick. Tomorrow we have a session with Frederick, so you can all ask your questions there. Thank you very much. Thank you for the questions online. Thank you, Paul. And we are going to close this session. And in 1 hour, at 3 o'clock, we will have Danny Vergies from ChargeX, and he will go on into the error codes, as I saw on the presentation. So everybody's welcome. In about 15 minutes, we will start here. We will start online. So please join us. Nee.
Built in.